When Ryland came out at age 5, a few years later, he had the full support of his parents.
Conservative propagandist Ben Shapiro lost his goddamn mind because Fox News aired a segment on trans rights that was actually informative, empathetic, and heartfelt. So I'm going to actually play this segment for you. It is shockingly fantastic. So I'm going to play this, and then I'll get to the reaction from a couple of conservatives, of course, including Ben Shapiro. But first, here is the Fox News segment on this trans teenager.
If you saw me walking down the street, you wouldn't think anything different.
14-year-old Ryland Whittington is a typical Southern California teenager. And the Whittingtons, along with mom Hillary, dad Jeff, and sister Brinley, are a typical family. The only difference, though, in Ryland's eyes, is what this family can mean to the tens of thousands of kids under 18 who identify as transgender.
We put our story out there so people could see that there's another family out there that is going through what we're going through, or there's another family who's proud of who they are.
Before Ryland could even speak, he managed to tell his parents that he is a boy.
I could just see that it wasn't him trying to be a brat. It was painful. It was truly painful for him to have to wear feminine clothing and for us constantly telling him that you're a girl.
And unlike some trans kids, when Ryland came out at age 5, a few years later, he had the full support of his parents.
Initially, there was some pushback from us in trying to understand this.
We were confused like most people are. We thought that gender and sexuality were the same thing. It took us a while to figure out that those two things are different and that children actually do recognize their gender identity very young. Some of them, not all.
But they listened to Ryland and to Hillary's conservative faith.
For me, it's just a deep spiritual belief that you believe in God and he, created us the way he wanted us. Well, then yes, he created Ryland just the way he is.
And they listened to families. They met in support groups.
There was a father who was sitting across the table. He says, "You have no idea how lucky you are to be here," which kind of took me back. I didn't at that point consider myself lucky to be there. And he said, our child had displayed this gender dysphoria or this gender misalignment at the same age that Ryland has. And we didn't listen, and we pushed back.
That pushback led that child to turn to self-harm as a teenager, which 60% of trans and non-binary kids engage in, according to the Trevor Project. More than 50% consider suicide.
That, for me, was the turning point. I didn't want to see Ryland go through that.
I'd rather have a living son than a dead daughter. I guarantee that if we had pushed back and done what a lot of parents do, I don't think that we would have either one of the kids that you see before you here today.
Allowing him to live authentically and true to himself and be who he really feels like he is. When you get to know Ryland, you see just how proud and confident he is of himself.
Ryland's story got international attention in 2014 when a family YouTube video went viral. And Hillary has since written a book called Raising Ryland.
I never thought that I would be known for this as well as I am, but really, it's just a small part of who I am.
He just brushes things off his shoulders like it's fine. He moves on in his life, and he's just I think everything we've been through, he's just learned to do that, and he's really good at it. I could never do that.
The Whittingtons believe sharing their story could make a lasting difference in another child's life, something they learned from that support group father nearly a decade ago.
I'm just here to make the ride smoother for others. You might be struggling right now, but we believe in you, this family. We might not know you, we might not know where you live, but, we understand you and we believe in you.
What extraordinary courage displayed by Ryland, his sister Brinley, father Jeff, and mom Hillary. I want to thank the Whittington family for speaking to us. It's not easy, particularly at a time when transgender issues have been politicized. People are afraid of what they do not understand, Dana. This family hopes their story will lead to more understanding, more acceptance, and ultimately more love.
Absolutely amazing segment. And I'm going to link to it below the video under sources on YouTube in the description box, so you can share just that segment around. Just share it around, show this to people who may be conservative, maybe Fox News viewers may have missed this segment. Ensure they see this, and maybe they'll become a little more informed and understand this issue a little better. And he mentions there at the end, the reporter, it's not easy to discuss trans issues at a time when it's been politicized. I wonder who's politicized them. And he correctly points out that people are afraid of what they do not understand. That is the Fox News audience to a T. So hopefully a segment like this, airing on Fox News in particular, will go a long way to help informing a largely ignorant audience. It's great to, like, this kind of segment on CNN and MSNBC is also a positive, but this being on Fox News is fantastic, as it has the ability to impact the most amount of people. Now, let me get to the conservative reaction to this, which, of course, these people are just despicable. So Matt Walsh, who was the person that initially shared this out, he's like a Ben Shapiro Daily Wire like C-lister. So he tweets out, I've appeared on Fox News many times. I appreciate the platform they've given me. If what I'm about to say ruins that relationship, so be it. We have to call this evil lunacy out whenever we see it, especially on our own side. Going on to say here, the poor kid is 14 now with a permanently altered body, condemned to live forever with an identity imposed as a small child. It is horrifying, evil, and sick, and it is what Fox chose to promote. I know for a fact that many people at Fox do not approve of this and never would have agreed to air radical far-left trans propaganda. But Fox reporter Brian Lenaz chose to do this story, and someone at Fox chose to put it on the air. Everyone involved should be fired immediately. These people try to pretend to care about so-called cancel culture, but when someone's opinion differs from their own, they call for their firing immediately. And to be honest here, this isn't even about differing opinions. This segment was based in reality. It's fact. This child is clearly much happier. He decided on his own that he was in the wrong body, that he is a boy. The family did not push this on him. He's not, confined to the wrong body. He decided to be who he is, and they are happy. That's why they were sharing their story, to inform people. This is a conservative family, a religious family. And this is also why this segment scares them so much, because they realize how informative this is to a conservative audience, making it tougher for them to be able to spread their propaganda and grift off of it. Now, Ben Shapiro. So I first showing you this. This is his pinned tweet on his Twitter page. Facts don't care about your feelings, except when they differ from Ben Shapiro's opinions, his own feelings. So he writes about the segment saying, this would be absolute despicable, insane lunacy if I saw it on CNN or MSNBC. To see it on Fox News is a complete betrayal of anything remotely resembling conservatism or decency. So he goes on to write this article about it in the Daily Wire, Shapiro, a complete betrayal at Fox News. And you can see how dishonest Ben Shapiro is just by the first paragraph, where he writes, Fox News highlighted the story Friday of a biological girl whose family encouraged her to identify as a boy. Is that what happened? You just watched the full segment. Did the family encourage him to become a boy? No. That's how he felt. He felt that he was a boy. But he starts his article out by lying, clearly lying about what the segment actually is, showing you again how dishonest these propagandists are. They are not able to have an honest conversation about this because they know the facts are not on their side. And he goes on in this piece at the end to also call for the firing of people behind this segment. The company should terminate whoever is responsible. Cancel culture, completely ridiculous. These people are insane. It's hard for me to even understand how somebody can be this evil. You have a platform like this. You have the ability to reach millions and millions of people. To not use that platform to spread kindness and understanding and knowledge and empathy, it's just amazing to me. Just completely despicable individuals. Now, a couple last things here. So I'm actually going to share, I'll get to it, but first here from Sawyer Hackett. So this, of course, here's the reality. Trans people are under attack. That is a fact. especially in Texas. So as Sawyer Hackett here tweets out, a 16-year-old transgender boy named Antonio Vo tried to kill himself the same day Greg Abbott ordered that parents of trans kids be investigated for child abuse. He was admitted, but when hospital staff learned he had hormone therapy, they were forced to turn his family in. Now, in case you're wondering, like if you haven't followed what's going on in Texas, and by the way, I have a cold, so if I'm kind of out of it and stuffed, you know why. But so in Texas, people are now encouraged to turn the parents of trans children in to authorities, potentially having them investigated by child services. This is what the state has turned fascist against the trans community. That is what is happening now, and it is leading to instances like this, where this child tried to kill himself because he is trans and he's afraid his parents are going to have to face some kind of repercussions for them allowing him to actually be who he is. And so there's more to this story. I'll link to it below the video. But right now there are families of trans teens suing Texas over this practice. This is literally fascist. So if you want to know, like, in terms of the at-risk communities right now, people that need your support, that need your help, the trans community is at the top of that list because of how they are being treated, how they are being hunted down in states like Texas, and also just generally the way conservative media has been treating this as this major issue, this culture war issue, instead of looking at it and realizing this is just a human rights issue. This is an issue of allowing people to be themselves and exist for who they are. But they have to turn everything into some kind of culture war. So last thing here, I want to share this. So it's a bit long. It's like 11 tweets, but it's a story from Elliot here. I think it's very important to understand. This person's experience may help you understand what this experience is like for people that are trans. So Elliot writes here, when I came out as trans in senior year of high school, I sent an email to all my former and current teachers, as well as the administrators, to let them know of my name change and pronouns. This was over 10 years ago. The vice principal emailed me asking me to visit his office. I was so surprised to find out he actually wanted to make sure my name was listed correctly for the reading of my diploma, and that since girls wore white robes and boys wore green, he wanted to see if we still had time to get me a green robe. I was floored at his kindness. Trans folks weren't exactly everywhere. I was the only out trans kid at the time. This was a cis straight man obsessed with our sports teams, friend to the jocks. I was a nerdy art kid who sent a long-ass email about my gender journey. I hadn't even thought of robes. My mom was terrified I was going to be bullied. She accepted me but was scared of what others would think. I told her about my vice principal, and she was emotional, that someone wanted to take the time to make sure I was respected at my graduation. I had debated not going. It turned out the robes had already been ordered, but he made some calls, found an extra one, and assured I got my green cap and gown. While my name wasn't legally changed on my diploma read my dead name, he made sure my name was called as Elliot. When we talk about treating trans kids with respect, this is the stuff I think about. Not every teacher remembered my name change or used the right pronouns. But by my vice principal advocating for me, many fell in line to do the same who seemed reluctant before. Sure, I got questions from some kids I barely talked to who didn't know about my transition. Wait, why are you wearing the green robe, etc.? But I still got a boutonniere like the boys, wore green, and they called my true name. All because he took the effort to include me. Why am I talking about this? Because I just saw a post of the new graduating class, and they've changed the robes colors to all be green. They're not gender separated anymore. I can't imagine how much easier that makes it for trans and gender diverse kids. It is not difficult to do the right thing for a trans kid. There was an extra robe somewhere. It was easy enough to write my name down appropriately for the announcer to say. It probably took him about an extra 15 minutes out of his day. It made a huge difference to me. So how can you make a trans person feel more included at your function, at your school, etc.? It takes so little. We don't care about Minnie Mouse wearing a pantsuit. We don't care about the fake outrage post this cereal mascot is trans. We care about being respected. When someone takes the lead, others will follow. When you go forward in good faith to include with kindness, others will see that. Just like how one good deed can start a chain reaction. What little thing could make someone feel more included? For me, it was a cap and gown. So it shows you how little effort it takes just to recognize somebody for who they are, just to show the tiniest bit of kindness, of understanding, of empathy. This is not hard. It may be confusing to you. I get that. Based on, our culture for the past forever, it can be tough for people to, educate themselves on what this is all about. But all it really is about is recognizing somebody for what they say they are, for who they claim to be. That's it. If someone says, hey, my name's Joe, their name's Joe. So why is it a big deal if someone says that they're a boy now and not a girl? Like, this is not a big deal. This doesn't matter at all. This affects your life not one bit. Yet it means the world to people who, for the longest time, felt like they were in the wrong body. All you have to do is recognize their humanity. That's it.